Alright, boys. 318 Sentinel League is about to be revealed. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we get.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Yeah, and I'm MB Extreme from Twitch. Thanks, man.
As we reveal Path of Exile's next expansion.
The classic, man. The classic.
On PC and Mac on May 13th, and on Xbox and PlayStation on May 18th. Twitch drops are enabled for today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below to link your account.
No shit, I have those wings. I bought them in the store, and they are actually really good.
In February, we launched Siege.
One of my favorite wings, actually.
Drastically changed Path of Exile's mapping endgame. It removed Atlas regions and Watchstones, and introduced the gigantic Atlas-wide passive tree and 4 new pinnacle bosses to challenge. One other very important aspect of the new endgame is its modularity. We designed it in a way where it's easy to expand with more content, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Alongside the Sentinel Challenge League, this expansion doubles down on the best parts of Siege of the Atlas to give you ultimate control over your endgame experience. Here's what you can expect from today's live stream. We'll start with a trailer for the Sentinel expansion, and then we'll go through its content and features in detail.
Game controller support. There it is.
Challenge League lets you control your
there it is.
Reward. We'll then move on to the improvements we have made to Path of Exile's endgame.
Are there any MTX you don't have?
The Atlas-wide passive tree, the introduction of 20 Atlas Keystone passives, new variations on pinnacle boss fights, and powerful unique items designed by the winners of our Siege of the Atlas boss kill event. Following that, we'll discuss the type of balance changes we're making, or more interestingly, not making in this expansion. We'll then cover what we're doing with magic and rare monster modifiers, various quality of life improvements, and the full release of controller support for PC players.
It's insane, dude. Controller support. I mean,
supporter packs. I'll head into a live Q&A with community streamer Ziggy D, where we'll answer your questions. Once that finishes, we'll post the expansion's full patch notes.
I like that they keep this up with announcing or giving us the patch notes right away. Alright, let's see. 318 Sentinel League. Hopefully, a bit better than Arch Nemesis.
In the wake of your power,
wait, we get shapeshifting, dude.
Has arisen. Dark sentinels, hungry for a share. But these cruel constructs can be harnessed. Take them, bind them to your will.
So we get pet support?
Test and tinker, combine and reconfigure. And together, you will find your fortune. Some sentinels are powerful. Others are dangerous. But in a world with shifting stars, monstrous new threats,
Uber pinnacle bosses, I like.
You will need them.
Okay, that's 5 beams instead of 4. You can
sentinels await
apparently make bosses harder. Well, I hope they give the loot for it, you know? Because there is, like, in theory, no point of doing like harder content if it doesn't get rewarded with stuff, right?
I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so let's get started with a full explanation of the upcoming Sentinel Challenge League.
But you have like a Sentinel pet, which you can like...
Sentinels are ancient constructs that have been unearthed across Rayclast. In this league, you will collect these Sentinels and attempt to harness their great power. But this symbiosis is not without risks. Once deployed, a Sentinel follows you, watching and waiting for you to enter combat. As you encounter enemies, the Sentinel will fire a beam that doesn't damage the enemy, but rather empowers them. This not only amplifies the difficulty of the foe, but also the rewards that it yields.
That's nice.
There are 3
so it doesn't fight with you.
That you'll find as you kill monsters in this league. Stalker Sentinels will follow you for around 30 seconds, empowering dozens of monsters before they dissipate. This is like a build-your-own breach or delirium effect, because you control what monsters you're fighting when you deploy the Sentinel, and through various means that we'll describe shortly, you're also in control of how much the monsters are empowered.
Maximum power, dude.
In contrast,
always maximum power. We play softcore.
Sentinels are designed for mass area of effect, and typically only fire 1 shot. But this shot really counts, chaining between monsters to affect an entire screen full of foes at once. This class of Sentinel can be very dangerous because it empowers so many enemies at one time. The final class, Apex Sentinels, can only empower rare or unique enemies. They fire fewer shots but have a much larger impact on difficulty and reward.
So they actually give the rares an extra reward type. That's pretty cool.
But as you play through the league, you can eventually unlock 2 more Sentinel slots so that you can have 1 Sentinel of each class equipped at a time. Each class of Sentinel can be deployed only once per area that you play. You'll quickly develop various strategies for when each class of Sentinel is best used. For example, saving your Pandemonium Sentinel for when you're surrounded by monsters, or using your Apex Sentinel on the map boss or league content that spawns several rare monsters.
That makes sense, yeah, but you definitely need some hotkeys for that.
With a full loadout of Sentinels equipped, in every map you'll get to empower bosses of your choice, juice up an entire screen at once with a button press, and choose the part of the map where it's best to empower a series of dozens of monsters.
But I'm not sure about the counter here in the bottom side.
Sentinels cannot be damaged by monsters.
Like how long they're out, but what are the other stacks? It's probably the hotkey. It's just probably the hotkey.
And are incompatible with traditional Rayclastian crafting techniques. However, new Sentinels with different properties can be assembled from the depleted husks of others that you have used until their internal power supplies ran out. We'll explain that crafting process in more detail later on. You can find magic Sentinels that have mods on them. These mods can augment the base properties of a Sentinel, extending its duration,
so you find those and then you have like a certain use.
Increasing the number it can empower, or even the degree to which the monsters are empowered, affecting both their difficulty and rewards.
Alright.
Some mods will add specific drops, such as currency items, essences, or unique items, to monsters empowered by the Sentinel, but at the cost of increasing how difficult the monster is to defeat. You can also occasionally find rare Sentinels that have more than 2 mods on them. These are generally quite a lot more powerful than normal or magic Sentinels if you find the right combination of mods. The Sentinels you find as you explore Rayclast will become more powerful. Some particularly powerful ones with special properties can only come from the process of assembling new Sentinels from depleted ones. While the Sentinels you find generally get better and better as you play through the league, you can also upgrade the behavior and properties of Sentinels through your Sentinel Controller. The Sentinel Controller is like a runic circuit board. It's what powers your Sentinels and allows you to customize them. There are specific nodes for each of the 3 types of Sentinel, so you can customize the properties and behavior of all of them, or potentially focus on your favorite base types. As you play through the league and kill more and more enemies affected by your Sentinels, your controller will gain power. You start with 4 units, which is enough to power your first Sentinel slot and your first runic node. By the end game, you are able to work up to 30 power units, which is enough for almost half of the controller to be powered at once. So how do you choose which runic nodes to power? You do this by connecting them together with filaments. Power flows from the top of the circuit through the filaments until it is all in use by the nodes you have connected. You can set up filaments in advance and they'll automatically be used as more power becomes available.
That's pretty cool.
Moving filaments around has no cost. It's basically like a planning tool that gradually gets activated as you gain more power throughout the league. So you're not locked into a specific plan and you can respec for free at any time.
Yeah, fine. Like, that's a good thing, you know?
Some runic nodes require 2 filaments and hence allocate more of your power when activated. Additional Sentinel slots for other types like Pandemonium and Apex Sentinels.
And that's why we love PoE, because we have like unlimited stuff to change your characters to, right?
While it's almost always best to have all 3 slots powered so you can use all 3 Sentinels per area, there are niche strategies where you want to unpower specific Sentinel slots in order to have more power for additional runic nodes, also that you can fully specialize in just 1 or 2 Sentinel types. Just to reiterate,
I see.
You can change your allocation as much as you like, so feel free to experiment.
That's pretty good,
This powerful runic node allows Pandemonium Sentinels to be used an additional time each area. While this is basically pure upside, you should definitely plan around the fact that you'll be running their charge down pretty quickly if you use this node. This runic node prevents your Stalker Sentinels from empowering normal rarity enemies. While this seems very powerful at first because you'll just be empowering magic, rare, or unique enemies that benefit greatly from the boost to item drops, you should be aware that unless you have a large source of special enemies, you'll be fighting against the flight duration of your Sentinels and will probably want to build around increasing their duration. While the Sentinel Controller lets you specialize how the different classes of Sentinels behave, it's generally not necessary to have to modify it for each new Sentinel that you equip. The runic nodes you have chosen represent your overall strategy for each class of Sentinel and rarely need to be tweaked if you swap one Sentinel for another. As you use Sentinels in combat across a number of maps, they eventually run out of charge and will become depleted. but they don't need to be thrown away when this occurs. You can find power cores that let you assemble a new Sentinel with a full charge. This process disassembles two existing Sentinels and creates a hybrid of the two, with their properties combined together. Right-clicking a power core opens up an assembly screen. If you insert two Sentinels and click the Assemble button, a new, fully charged one will be created.
And I saw you can like buy those probably.
Unpredictable one that can either inherit properties from the input Sentinels or potentially produce new ones that weren't based on either of them. For example, the base type of the Sentinel could either be the left input Sentinel, the right input Sentinel, or an entirely new one that can't spawn naturally and can only come from this process.
Yeah, okay.
The same applies to its modifiers. You generally get a mix of modifiers from the two input Sentinels, but sometimes they have their tiers upgraded or entirely new mods added, occasionally including ones that are exclusive to the assembly process. The end result is that you're usually getting Sentinels that are similar in function to the depleted ones you have combined, but occasionally mutate in new ways, producing results that unlock more power and possibilities.
But the rear ones are all corrupted.
The best Sentinels in the game will come from lucky combinations of depleted Sentinels that have just the right mods. It's also possible to assemble two Sentinels directly into one of the many valuable unique Sentinels.
Oh.
Specialized power cores exist, which influence the assembly process to greatly increase the chances of various interesting outcomes occurring. They don't guarantee anything, but are absolutely worth considering if you're trying to hit unlikely assembly results.
Yeah, it really reminds you on Synthesis League. You need to wait until everything is data mined.
Together. That's where the Sentinel Locker comes in. It's a free object that you can place in your hideout that allows you to store stacks of each of the Sentinel currency items, as well as a tab full of each of the 3 categories of Sentinel.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You can also store
Do you think ahead this time?
stash tabs, and they can be freely traded with other players. The Sentinel Locker's affinity for Sentinels will also work with regular stash tabs while this league is active. As I hinted at before, you can find or create unique Sentinels. These have powerful static properties, but because they cannot be combined with other Sentinels, there's no way to recharge them once they become depleted. They are essentially limited use items with powerful effects. Let's look at a few examples. First off, we have the Basilisk. This is a Pandemonium Sentinel that augments its wide area of effect blast with a petrification effect. Any monsters caught in the blast are turned to stone. Rather than being primarily useful for raising the risk and reward of combat like other Sentinels, this one is incredibly useful as an emergency button in combat.
That's pretty cool.
By activating the Basilisk, you can freeze most of the monsters around you in place, letting you take control of dangerous situations. This unique Sentinel, the Hollow-Eyed Skull, is basically a headhunter in Sentinel form. There are also a set of unique Sentinels that are designed to empower specific named Atlas map bosses. If you activate one of these Sentinels while fighting,
because they stack obviously with Headhunter, right?
An extremely dangerous version that is very, very rewarding if you can defeat it. The highly empowered boss fight is further scaled by whatever mods are on the map that contain it, so you'll want to be pretty careful with what mods you choose to use. On the other hand, its rewards are scaled by reward bonuses on that map, so if you're able to defeat one of these bosses in a juiced map, you will certainly be greatly rewarded.
You use that on like endgame bosses.
Highly empowered map bosses are the best source of recombinators, a new type of endgame currency item that can be found in the Sentinel League. Recombinators allow you to apply the Sentinel Assembly process to 2 pieces of equipment of the same item class, combining them together in unpredictable ways. This process can also rarely imbue your items with exclusive modifiers that don't normally spawn on that type of item. While the recombination process involves significant risks, you could combine the best parts of 2 rare items together, maybe getting a lucky exclusive mod spawn, and end up with one of the best weapons, armor pieces, or jewelry in Path of Exile. Sentinels can be deployed while engaging in other League content, so you can juice the risk and reward to quite crazy levels. For example, you could enter a Mirror of Delirium, trigger a breach, and deploy your Sentinel at the same time, causing the monsters to have 3 significant modifiers to both their difficulty and rewards. There are only a few specific areas that Sentinels can't be deployed in, mostly for technical reasons, and those are unique maps, pinnacle Atlas bosses, and the Simulacrum.
Yeah, I thought so. Simulacrum would be too sick.
So that's Sentinel in a nutshell. It's a combat league that gives you heaps of control.
There is only one big issue that I currently have with this announcement.
Mechanics, juices your endgame bosses
no
beyond
new
any
skill
kind of
gems.
reasonable difficulty, lets you play with temporary headhunters, and might even let a few players assemble some pretty insane rare items if they're lucky. We're very much looking forward to seeing your stories after you've had a chance to play with it next week.
I
In addition
hope
to the
they
Sentinel
bring
Challenge League,
new
this expansion further
gems.
improves on the new endgame introduced in Siege of the Atlas.
Because
Its Atlas
that
White
would be a
passive
second
tree
league
and
in a row
pinnacle boss
without new
fights.
gems. That would
The
actually
new
suck, because
endgame
this is
was
like my
designed to give
favorite
you
type.
ultimate control over what kind of content you want to play and how difficult and rewarding you want it to be. With the Sentinel expansion, we are doubling down on what makes this new endgame the best one that Path of Exile has ever had. This expansion introduces 20 powerful Keystone passives to the Atlas tree. As you know from the regular passive skill tree, Keystone passives are usually dramatic and build-changing, with both upsides and potential downsides.
That's
Each
actually
Keystone
pretty
can
cool.
completely change the way you play Path of Exile's endgame, and we have designed Keystone passives for many different playstyles and situations. The second big change is that we have introduced these clusters of passives that grant you even more control over what endgame content you encounter. As you know, you can encounter many different types of past league content randomly within maps. These new passives allow you to prevent content you don't enjoy from appearing randomly, while simultaneously causing other content to spawn at a higher rate.
That's pretty
Aside
cool.
from the obvious convenience of only encountering the past league mechanics that you choose, the system is great for target farming specific content that you have juiced on your Atlas tree. Thirdly, we have created incredibly difficult and rewarding Uber versions of 7 pinnacle boss fights, which can be accessed via 6 new Keystone passives. These fights are designed to challenge the absolute best Path of Exile players, and suffice to say, they are brutally difficult. Let's take a look at some of the new Keystones and boss fights.
You know, brutally
The
difficult. In
singular
what
focus
term?
Keystone makes it significantly more likely that your favored maps will drop. If a map drops that is not one of your favored maps, it will be converted into a random currency item.
What?
This means that you'll exclusively see your favored maps, and outside of that, more currency. This is the realization of the "I only want to play one map" dream that some players have.
Oh
It
yes?
also helps players who are
For example, the
oversustaining
one
maps
where
and would rather
Mage
just
Blood
get
card
extra
drops?
currency items.
Hello?
The Stream of Consciousness Keystone prevents you from modifying your maps with fragments or scarabs.
Do we actually
It
know
means that
where
when extra
Mage Blood card
content is being
drops?
rolled for your maps,
Because this
each of the
map
base
will be
chances
good.
is 50% higher. This is really useful for players who don't want to have to think about juicing their maps and would instead prefer to get a constant moderate bonus instead. The following 2 Keystones are for very advanced players who have completed their Atlas trees and want to get a very specific outcome with all of their skill points. The Wandering Path Keystone increases the effect of small passives on your Atlas skill tree and disables all notable passives.
Okay. Because there is a
The
lot of
Grand
like
Design
small
Keystone
quant nodes.
increases the monster pack size in each of your maps by an amount proportional to the number of notable passives you have allocated. However, the trade-off is that small passives have no effect.
Yeah, they're like super similar to Legion Jewels, actually.
These 2 Keystones are very good for specializing into maximizing pack size and quantity at the expense of specific league content, which is great for general Magic Find builds or Divination card farmers. The Twist of Fate Keystone changes the behavior of corrupted rare maps in unpredictable ways. Upon entering a map, you may be sent to an alternative map of the same tier with randomized modifiers. All of the master missions, scarabs, and Kirit crafts applied to the map will also be randomized. This process will not pick an outcome that was already on the map, so it always shifts it to a new property that you didn't have before. This means that you can play all of the scarabs, master missions, and maps that you enjoy, and any leftover ones can be randomized to new outcomes, which are guaranteed to not be the ones you started with. This may have some interesting economic consequences as well, with players feeding bad scarabs or maps into the Twist of Fate lottery.
That's pretty good.
The
You
Wellspring
can just
of
get rid
Creation
of or
and Dance
trade
of
on
Destruction Keystones
all
change
your
the ratios
Atlas
of monster life and
missions
damage
that you
on
don't
maps
want
on
to
the
have.
Atlas, so that they are more dangerous and less tanky, or vice versa. These 2 Keystones are designed to be remedial, allowing players with an abundance of offense or defense to normalize themselves so that they can handle the content better.
That's so cool, actually.
If you find yourself in a situation where you're waiting for a weapon upgrade or can't fix your resistances, then you could allocate one of these Keystones to temporarily make things easier, before unallocating it later when your build is complete.
That's actually
6
5
new
head.
Keystones create Uber versions of Path of Exile's pinnacle boss fights. Venarius, Cyrus, the Maven, the Searing Exarch, the Eater of Worlds, and the Shaper and Uber Elder, who I guess is now called the Uber Elder? Allocating one of these Keystones on your Atlas passive tree ramps up the corresponding boss fights so that it is extremely difficult. Like, really hard. Harder than saying goodbye to Zana hard.
Done.
Only allocate these keystones if your character is extremely powerful and you know you can handle the challenge. In general, the encounter's rules are modified to be far more punitive. and
Yo, what the
difficult.
fuck?
In return, though, you can earn some very enticing rewards. Each of the Uber fights has an additional high chance reward and a chance of getting a very, very rare chase reward. For example, the Uber Maven guarantees an elevated sextant if you're able to complete the encounter.
Wow,
Very
that's
rarely,
20
though, you
chaos.
may be able to earn an awakened exceptional support gem as well, such as Empower, Enlighten, or Enhance.
Awakened Enlighten support?
These keystones unlock crazy battles that will challenge our most aspiring players who are deep in Path of Exile's endgame. They add a new level of difficulty for those who want to push their builds even farther.
Awaken Enlighten? What?
The keystones we
Was
have
this
shown
in
you so
before?
far are
Did
designed
I
around many
miss
different
something?
types of endgame players. Some glass cannon players struggle with defenses but have no problem with offense. Some players want to just play one map. Some players want the difficulties to be ramped up and to receive rewards commensurate with this added challenge. The keystones also let you identify a specific reward type of contest or playstyle
like
and know exactly how
Awakened
you can get the
Enlighten
most out of it.
actually. So that counts for Enhance and Empower
There are a
too.
number of other new keystones that we'll reveal before release. Like the ones we have shown you today, these keystones require you to consider your endgame plan in an
That is
entirely new
like
light.
so good.
We're
Like
very
I'm not
interested to
gonna
see what
lie,
strategies you will use
I
to try to
really
conquer
like
the new
this.
Uber pinnacle bosses.
Like it's going to be
Before we
harder
get
to
into the new
tell
unique
what you
items,
cannot
there
do
are a
in
few other
PoE right
endgame
now.
Atlas changes that we should cover. We are removing Vinctar's Square and Doryani's Machinarium from the Atlas of Worlds because they are not natural map drops.
It's
You
fine.
can still
Fuck
get
those
and
two
play
maps.
these maps, of course, but they aren't counted for your overall Atlas completion anymore. Their Atlas passive points have been moved to rewards for defeating the Infinite Hunger and the Black Star. We have rebalanced influence altars and maps. They now feel a lot different than they did in the form they were introduced in Siege of the Atlas. Their downsides now feel more impactful and they have more diversity of rewards, including new rewards. The intention is to fulfill the original design goal of having an ultimatum-like choice about whether you want to accept additional challenge for additional reward. We've
Good.
added better Atlas tree support for them, including 2 keystones that can affect them. We've also rebalanced the drop weightings of the new Pinnacle Atlas bosses, changing the relative drop weightings of their unique rewards and making them more likely to drop Eldritch currency. Currently, in Siege of the Atlas, Elder and Shaper Scarabs are basically worthless because their influence is worse than the free influence you can get from the Eater of Worlds and the Searing Exile.
Yep.
In Sentinel, you can now apply multiple types of influence to one map, so you could have Eater of Worlds influence alongside a Shaper or Elder Scarab on a Conqueror map.
Oh, that's
Together,
so gonna
these
be
3
sick for
influences
Magic
combined
Find
have a very
builds,
large
man.
effect on that map, and this will make
You're gonna
Elder and
get
Shaper Scarab
disconnected and
significantly
crashing the
more
game
desirable.
non-stop just because you have so many
The
monsters.
start point of encountering Shaper, Elder, or Conqueror influence and influence items has been raised to level 81 areas. We've also fixed an issue that was causing some players to skip playing most of the contents of maps. On the lower half of the Atlas passive tree, there were a lot of small skills that granted a 2% chance for the map boss to drop an additional map. This meant that it was possible to sustain maps by rushing to those bosses and ignoring every other monster in the map. We have retained the overall bonus, but have changed it so the map drops from a random monster within the map rather than the boss. We're also addressing an issue with the way that you acquire Maven boss fight invitations. Currently, it's possible that you get hit with a bad streak of RNG and haven't found an invitation by the time you have enough bosses witnessed. You can now purchase these invitations from Kirak for a moderate price if you need to.
Okay. Okay,
At the launch
that's
of the
a
Siege of
very
the
interesting
Atlas
part
expansion, we
incoming.
hosted a competition that saw players race
'Cause I already
against
have
the
my
Path
League
of
starter
Exile's
planned.
pinnacle bosses in hardcore solo self.
Unless, like, I still
The main
hope.
prize for doing so was the ability to collaborate with us on the design of a unique item that would drop from a boss in Path of Exile's endgame. 5 of these uniques have been designed so far and will be featured in this expansion. The 6th one will be released once the winner has time to design it, very likely in 3.19. Call of the Void is a new cold-themed ring that was designed by Lighty and will drop from the Uber Elder. It causes all damage to chill and causes chilled enemies to shatter on death, as though they were frozen. On top of this, chilled enemies deal less damage back to you based on the magnitude of the chill affecting them.
Herald of
The
Ice?
only drawback is that all incoming damage also chills you, but there are many ways to mitigate this.
Yeah,
and in
yeah,
some
just
cases,
get
it's beneficial to build
ailment
to
immune.
utilize self-chill as part of some crazy combo. This ring is useful for a wide variety of different endgame builds.
That's like some big
Empress
Herald of
Creation
Ice
is a new
ring.
unique helmet, also designed by Lighty, which will drop from the Shaper. It's designed for builds that use Warcries and grants an extra use before cooldown to Warcry skills that are socketed in the helmet. It also grants more damage to exerted attacks based on the number of Warcries affecting them.
Warcries.
Causing you to take damage when you use these
Shit.
attacks. The self-damage number looks really scary, but it can be mitigated by various mechanics such as armor, endurance charges, and life recovery. This powerful niche helmet is ideal for characters that try to use
It's surely
as many
one of
Warcries
like
as they can.
for Al Kaiser, because he's playing that like every single league.
The third lighter unique being introduced is the Burden of Truth, a unique belt which will drop from Cyrus. Broadly speaking, this belt encourages you to have healthy energy shield and life pools and helps you to achieve this by granting you additional energy shield based on a percentage of your maximum life value. The belt both lets some portion of chaos damage hit your energy shield, but also causes some non-chaos damage to bypass your energy shield like it was chaos damage. This is often an upside because
What is
splitting
Supreme
damage over both
Decadence?
life and energy shield lets you recover both simultaneously. The Supreme Decadence keystone that this belt grants, which is previously restricted to timeless jewels, causes your life flasks to apply to both your life and energy shield at a reduced rate.
This one. Okay. One that
Overall,
I
this
never
belt is
used
extremely
before.
powerful for characters who can build to have a decent energy shield pool while also using life flasks appropriately.
But it's not.
The fourth new item that
Okay,
we're
what is
featuring
this?
today was created by Waggle. It's an amulet called the Eternal Struggle, which will drop from either the Infinite Hunger or the Black Star. The amulet has a pair of Eldritch mods, and the one that is dominant will be based on which of the bosses dropped it. The dominant mod also controls whether the amulet gives a Malignant Madness or Culling Strike bonus. You'll need to work out which of the two bosses to farm based on which half of the amulet you want to activate. The final unique we're showcasing today was designed by Steel Mage. It's a unique jewel that drops from the Maven. The jewel refers to a random keystone on your passive skill tree and enables you to be able to allocate passives within a radius around that keystone without them being connected to the rest of the tree.
Yo,
While the
that's
keystone
big,
itself cannot
dude.
be allocated, this jewel allows you to jump across great distances on the passive tree in a very skill point efficient way.
That is insane. That is
In
insane,
addition to
man.
these uniques that have come from the boss
That
kill
is really
competition,
good.
We've added new unique items to the Uber Pinnacle boss
The
fights
other
that can
ones,
be
fuck
accessed
this,
through
but
some
this
of
is
the new
actually
keystone
really good.
passives. These include a different variation of Thread of Hope that can drop from Uber Cyrus, a new unique jewel which can drop from the Uber Shaper,
In a
and
massive
special Forbidden
ring.
Flame and Forbidden Flesh jewels which can roll exclusive Ascendancy notable passives that are not available anywhere else in the game. You'll notice that our last Endgame expansion was just 3 months ago, and we're already extending the Endgame even further. This is our plan for
Yo,
every expansion.
that is
leading up to the
actually
release of Path of
insane.
Exile 2. Rather than having a much bigger annual expansion, we plan to add as many endgame improvements into each quarterly expansion as we can, alongside its new challenge league, so that there are new challenges to overcome every time you come back to Path of Exile. One of the subtle but important aspects of our plan is to keep adding powerful new chase rewards to Path of Exile's endgame, so that there are always new reasons to complete aspirational content. The boss kill competitions are great because they not only create these rewards, but also immortalize the achievements of some of Path of Exile's best players. We're going to run another boss kill competition at the launch of Sentinel. This time, players will have to defeat the Uber versions of boss fights that are unlocked by the special Keystone passives. We'll post full information in the lead up to release.
But still
We're
no
gonna try
skill
something
gems. This
new
is
with
kind of
character
sad.
balance in this expansion. We're intentionally making no changes to character.
It's my
balance.
second
That
one,
means
actually.
No nerfs, no buffs, nothing. Every single build and build guide made for Siege of the Atlas will work exactly the same in Sentinel. You can start planning your league starter right now, with full confidence about exactly how it's going to play. However, build exploration is still required in 3.18. Sentinel introduces many difficult challenges, both in the Challenge League itself and in the endgame content, and you're going to have to work out a plan to create characters that are able to handle this content. But at this release, you can hit the ground running, knowing with confidence which builds are a good starting point for you. We don't intend to do this character balance freeze every release. For example, 3.19 definitely contains planned changes to character balance. Even though there are no character balance changes in 3.18 though, we have still made some changes to actual game content. For example, let's talk about the changes to monster modifiers. Magic and rare
No,
monsters
EA
in Path of Exile got a lot of
Ballista
their
and
power
that
from
kind
their
of things
modifiers.
that were like
We came
insanely
up with the
strong last
majority of the
league
monster mods over a decade ago.
will still be
and
the
only
same thing, so
substantially
there will
added
not
to
be
them
any
with the
meta
introduction of the
changes,
Nemesis
pretty
and
much.
Bloodlines leagues in 2013 and 2014. These mods are unfortunately showing their age. Many of them are unimpactful, and it's quite hard to quickly read their descriptions in the heat of combat. What we need is a new set of mods that are highly impactful in combat, keyworded with 1 to 2 colored words that are easy to read at a glance, and capable of producing dangerous combinations. This is exactly what we designed the Arch Nemesis mods to be. a replacement for the core monster mod pool. From 3.18 onwards, all previous monster mods have been replaced by Arch Nemesis mods. No other part of the Arch Nemesis League has been retained, so there's no more inventory or recipe management.
I thought so, yeah.
Magic monsters have one Arch Nemesis mod shared across their pack, and rare monsters typically have 2 mods. However, it's possible to encounter rare monsters with 3 or even 4 Arch Nemesis mods on them. Combinations of multiple synergistic mods can create quite interesting situations in combat. For example, if you encounter a monster with both Storm Strider and Ice Prison, the Ice Prison may block you off so that you are more likely to run into the lightning mirages from the Storm Strider mod. We've done a balance pass over the Arch Nemesis mods before making them core. Some have certainly had their power reduced, particularly when applied to magic monsters. We have also changed how monster experience and drops are calculated, so it's now far more about the difficulty of the mods than about the proportional size of the monster. Various Nemesis and Bloodlines modifiers that were not represented in the Arch Nemesis mod pool have been added in different ways. Path of Exile's challenge system has remained the same for the last 21 leagues. For Sentinel, we had a look at whether there were any easy ways we could update it based on what we have learned over the last 6 years. Our plan is to retain the model of 40 challenges with rewards that unlock as you progress through them, but with a goal of providing substantially more challenge to endgame players, and substantially more rewards to go with it, of course.
Yeah, the rewards is like the question
We've
here.
crunched down the easier challenges, so that the first reward unlocks after only 6 and the second at 12. These are equivalent in difficulty to 12 and 24 challenges from the old system, respectively. This change gives us a lot more space to ramp up to some incredibly difficult challenges towards the end, which will take a lot of time and skill to complete. There are now 10 different rewards you can unlock, which comprise 2 complete armor sets, each with a pair of wings. But be warned, the challenges you must complete are much, much harder than any
That's pretty cool. I mean, I do 40-40 every single league, right?
We've been experimenting with support for game controllers on the PC.
So that's gonna be
version of
challenging, because I'm gonna do it
During the Arch
anyways.
Nemesis League, we began a beta for controller support, and have been making improvements based on your suggestions and feedback. We're pleased to announce that controller support on PC will officially launch alongside the Sentinel expansion. This also means that Path of Exile is now fully playable on the Steam Deck for those of you who are lucky enough to have one so far. Alongside finishing controller support for PC, we've also done a push on various small quality of life features in this expansion, which we'll reveal over the coming days. An example is that you can now choose whether your hideout portals can be accessed by one of 4 options: everyone, your friends, your guild members, or no one.
Yeah, no one,
We've also
obviously. I
improved
mean,
how
that's
favorite maps are
another
selected on the
question.
atlas. Rather than having to click on the map on the atlas for every slot, you can instead click on one of your existing favorite maps to
Oh, that's
quickly
nice
copy it to
quality
the
of
new
life.
slot. This makes it a lot faster to favor many instances of the same map at once. There are
Why would
plenty
you
more
run the
small
same map
QRL
over and
features
over
crammed in
again?
the Sentinel, and we'll cover these over the week leading up to release. Early in the Arch Nemesis League,
What
we
is this?
debuted Kerrick's Vault Pass. Purchasing this pass grants you access to Kerrick's Vault, where you can claim exclusive unique item skins as you complete map bonus objectives in the Atlas endgame. The Vault Pass for the Arch Nemesis League is only available for a few more days and will leave the store forever when this league ends.
Okay.
There's no penalty for purchasing the pass late in the league after you've wrapped up your map completion. So if you are pleased with where you got to in Arch Nemesis and want to lock in your unique skins, it's not too late to buy your pass now.
They just want to like squeeze it out before they remove it because they got so
We had a lot of
shitstormed
fun
on.
putting it together and tried to think of fun ways that unique item skins can interact with gameplay in a visual way. The purchases directly fund development of both Path of Exile 1 and 2. A brand new Vault Pass will launch alongside the Sentinel League. Like the previous one, there are 8 exclusive unique item skins. that
Okay,
can be
they're gonna
unlocked as
bring
you
it
complete
again?
map bonus objectives. We'll post full details on these new rewards closer to launch. To buy either the Arch Nemesis Pass now,
Okay,
before it
that's
leaves the store
surprising.
forever, or the Sentinel one when the expansion launches, go to pathofexile.com/vault. Alongside today's live stream, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Arcanist and Reaper packs.
Again, up
Each
to
tier
$90
contains the
per
pack's
pack.
full face value in points, plus several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available during the Sentinel League and will
Because
leave the
usually it
store
was
forever
30 and
in
60,
3
now it's
months.
30, 60, and 90 for
Every
times 2.
microtransaction you're about to see is entirely cosmetic and does not affect your character's progression or power. The Arcanist pack series contains 7 exclusive microtransactions. The Cloak of Elements indicates the power of your fire, cold, and lightning resistances on your back. When a resistance is capped, the effect is extra strong.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Wearing
actually
the Ring of
cool.
the Black Star, your level up effect looks like this.
Yo, what?
In the Timekeeper's hideout,
I
you
missed
use
it.
the
What
Chronosphere
your
to
effect?
change the time of day from dawn to noon to dusk to night.
Dude, what the fuck? Oh, when you level up? Holy shit.
With Chevron's tome on your belt, identifying items will cause exploding books to appear nearby. The Mage Bloom map device blossoms with greater intensity as you open higher tier maps.
That looks pretty cool.
With the soul stunning weapon effect attached to your weapon, any attacks that stun will cause your enemies to have an out-of-body experience.
An outer body experience.
Drinking from the searing Quicksilver flask causes an explosion and sets your character on fire.
Yes, please.
The Reaper Pack series also has 7 exclusive cosmetic microtransactions. The Soul Harvester's Cloak's power is based on the number of enemies your character has killed. With the Belt of the Hive Queen equipped, flasks you use will cause blood-sucking insects to appear all over your character.
That's so
The
cool.
Ghostlit Graveyard is a hideout where you can control the color of its torches. It also comes with 6 exclusive hideout decorations. Medidrone will follow you around and use a healing beam on you whenever you're gaining life. Thanks, Medidrone. The Underworld portal opens a gateway to Hell. Its effect upgrades in Part 2 and again in maps, where it indicates what tier of map you're playing.
That's actually cool.
While wearing the Ring of the Exorcist, any spells you cast will exorcise the ghosts of your enemies if you crit. While using the Grim Reaper apparition, the Reaper will appear and cull any unique or rare enemies you slay. As I mentioned before, these packs are exclusive to the Sentinel League and will leave the store in 3 months. They're available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and they directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile
Yo, that
2
level up
and
thing
Path
is
of Exile 1
insane,
expansions
actually.
like Sentinel. We greatly appreciate
Holy
your support.
shit.
Thanks for joining us and checking out today's reveals. We can't wait to see you in Rayclast on May 13th. We'll begin the Q&A in a few moments, so please get your questions ready in chat.
All right. And I would say I'm gonna pause the stream here. I mean, yeah. Overall set, it looks actually incredible. Like, not gonna lie, it looks like a lot of fun. A lot of, like, pack size thing, you know. It's gonna be insane for magic finding. As I said, I don't know exactly where the new div card drops that has, like, Mage Blood, the Mage Blood div card. I hope it's not gonna be, like, cells or dungeon or any, like, shit map, but, you know, magic find is gonna be huge. Things that I mean, there is shit tons of things that I really like about this new expansion, or like all the revamps. Like, it's pretty neat and everything, but the things that I don't like is that there is no balancing. That means we're gonna have pretty sure we're gonna have the exact same meta and the exact same builds that we had last league, which is kind of unfortunate, as well as not having any new skill gems, no new support gems besides the Awaken and Lighten support that we saw. Is actually, yeah, I think, like, it's just gonna be one extra level, which is actually insane, you know. Like, this could actually help you in later stages with, like, a couple of plus levels to gain 1 extra aura or something. But as I said, like, I'm hyped. I definitely want to play this shit, and we're just gonna, like, wait, like, what is this say, like 13th? So basically 1 more week until we actually can get ourselves back into Rayclast. But it looks pretty good, actually, and I hope that we're gonna just have more information about other new uniques, because the ones that that got revealed, I think, like, most of them I will probably never use. I don't even know how to use them properly, at least on the first glance. You know, they didn't seem to be so powerful. Besides the one Steel Mage made, that is actually insane, where you can literally, like, if I just open PUB and just, you know, whatever build you have, and then you just go to the complete opposite side if there is a keystone. And there was something with the empowered Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flash that I have to recheck how this exactly works, and what keystones you could get there. So that's actually going to be very